Are we live? We're live. We're live and we're recording on another beautiful day in Minneapolis. It's a very hot day. It's going to be like 90 degrees today. I got to put my AC in the window. Hope it's not going to be too loud for the show. It goes right there. We shall see. This is a political debate live on TikTok Live. People call in and we talk about politics. The prompt today is that MAGA is built on lies. Are we going to talk about the prompt? I don't know. It doesn't matter. It really just exists so that when people are scrolling up on TikTok, they see this and they stop and want to talk to me. That's really what it's for. I see some friends and some mods showing up. That's good. It is Tuesday. School's back in session, I think, right? School's still going. Anyway, 3 days of pretty chaotic shows because the shows are very chaotic when people aren't at work or school. Yesterday was a holiday and it was a pretty bizarre show. So maybe we'll get back to calm, normal stuff. We'll see. Hello, Noodle. Noodle always has to come say hello every time I start the show because she gets jealous because she can see that I'm talking to somebody else. Good morning, Raven. Good morning, Kate. Who else is here? Good here. Mile High something. Mile High Heathen. Ooh. Fun username. Most schools are done for the summer. All right, yeah, well, I've been thinking about that. The nature of the show might change over the course of the summer because I'm not supposed to have kids on. I don't want kids on the show, but I do spend a lot of time dodging them on the weekends. So it'll be interesting to see what running the show in the summer is like when they're, not in school. Milky Kate will have to take a quick call. That's fine. The mods are always so apologetic when they can't give the show their attention, but they're doing so much work for me. I really am not, I'm not going to judge anybody for not being able to give me 2 hours of their time every single day. Levi says, "Saw, dude, what's up?" What does it say? Av Winters Music, good morning. Good morning to you as well. Jay Geekman says hello again. Jazz, right? That's your name. How am I doing? Good. Well rested today. Not always well rested for the show. Today I'm very well rested for the show. Who called out? Oh, just Kate's got to take a phone call. Will is asking who's calling out. Pam says good morning. Av for Avery. Gotcha. Avery. I know you, Avery. Avery and I were talking before the show. Good to see you. I'm glad you made it to the live. Let's see how quickly we can get a caller on this Tuesday. Where are we? 67 people watching, 2 minutes in. That's pretty good. We should have a caller in no time. So I will urge everybody to get double tapping away on the screen because it's how we get fresh viewers in here. It's how we get the show pushed out to the For You page. Hopefully by the time we get a caller, I will be able to talk because obviously I'm not warmed up yet. Got to get warmed up. Got to practice my music today. I do have a gig tomorrow night. Maybe I'll say it at the end of the show. I think it's a difficult thing promoting my music things that I do as a person who does this controversial political debate thing. Because I'm a folk musician, so I don't mind that my politics are going to taint my music. That's entirely okay. That's very much on brand for a folk musician. I'm not worried about that. But, I do have to wonder about the type of people who are going to show up if I promote a gig that I have. But also my following's not terribly local anymore. It used to be only local when I was doing like ICE content. It was mostly local. Got a lot of followers now, though. So we'll see. Gotta tread that line of like using my own platform to promote myself in a way that's appropriate. Amos says the government is built on lies. I suppose I agree. D says both parties can't be real. Independent is the way to go. D, if you want an independent party, I still think that you got to vote blue for now because it is the blue candidates that are going to introduce things like ranked choice voting that allow independent parties to have a chance in this country, which is why I don't take independent pushes very seriously right now, and I don't take them very seriously on the show. Thank you, Kate, for the cake. It's valid for a country to have borders and enforce them. I agree. A lot of people tell me every day that I don't agree with that. Don't know what they're talking about because I do. I do disagree about how to achieve that. I do disagree about what's reasonable there. Average Guy has entered the request queue. Here's our first caller for the day. I think I remember talking to Average Guy before. Can you remind us how old you are?
26.
26. You're a Trump supporter?
Yeah.
Alrighty. What do you want to talk about today?
How do we defend blocking the SAVE Act?
The SAVE Act is going to disenfranchise voters in a way that's a much bigger deal than the voter fraud that it is allegedly supposed to address, when the voter fraud is like literally a statistically negligible non-issue. It's very impressive how little voter fraud there is in this country.
How do you know?
I will admit that we can't get perfect records on crimes that aren't necessarily prosecuted, but the burden is on you, the burden is on Republicans, the burden is on people who are pushing the SAVE Act to show that there's fraud happening, and I just haven't seen the evidence. I think if there was any evidence, if there was any good reason to believe it, somebody would have been able to show that to me. Do you have good evidence that voter fraud is a problem in this country?
Well, that's what the experts are saying. It's incredibly hard to track given the current constraints. The reason why we don't have the same requirements on things like federal benefits or joining the military and even getting a passport is because you actually need to verify that these people are who they say they are. And I'm just saying we need the same standard for if people are going to vote.
The experts are not. The experts agree with me that there's no evidence that voter fraud is a significant problem. Even the Heritage Foundation, which is super right-leaning, has said that I think they only found 77 cases of voter fraud across like 30 years of elections, which is an even lower estimate than I generally give on this show.
That's not what I said.
Okay, you said that's exactly what the experts say. What is it you're saying that the experts say?
They're saying it's incredibly hard to track and tell if there's widespread voter fraud because we're not requiring documentary proof. We're relying on outdated databases to cross-reference information under the threat of perjury. Voter registration.
Again, you can just make up any problem. You could accuse me of being a murderer and say that, and I would say, oh, you need to present evidence that I'm a murderer. And if you think it's such a big problem that I'm a murderer and that I belong in jail, you really got to show people that you have reason to believe that. So what is your good reason to believe that voter fraud is an issue in this country that is affecting the outcomes of elections? Any elections.
Yeah. So my problem is that we're not requiring documentary proof of citizenship to register. We're just threatening people with
We are requiring citizenship to be approved, but no, why would you have to require it to apply for voter registration when the government knows who is a citizen and who isn't, and then they check before approving that registration?
Yeah. Well, do you know why they require documentary proof of citizenship?
You know what? We can talk about that in a second. But again, I just want to get a very clear answer. You don't have any evidence whatsoever that voter fraud is a problem in this country. Is that correct?
It's a weird way to spin it, but
I'm at you. You were bringing me a problem. You're concerned about voter fraud. I'm saying, wow, voter fraud. Voter fraud's very bad. We shouldn't have widespread voter fraud. If voter fraud is affecting the outcomes of elections or has a even like small, like single-digit percentage chance of affecting any outcome of any election in this country, I would consider it a very serious issue that we would need to address with some sort of legislation. And then we could have a conversation about if the SAVE Act is a good idea.
You're not acknowledging my issue.
I'm not acknowledging that the problem you're concerned about is real, and you can't demonstrate to me that it's real. So I don't really want to talk about the solution until after we figure that out.
My issue is that it's hard to track and tell if widespread voter fraud is happening.
You could say that. You could make up any problem and say that about that. You realize that, right? I think that the number of people that you have murdered is a problem. I don't have a mechanism for keeping track of how many people you've murdered. I think we should put you in jail. Do you see the problem?
Well, like, for example, why do we require documentary proof of citizenship for Medicaid? Why?
I'm not familiar with the application process for Medicaid.
Well, it requires documentary proof of citizenship. Why do they do that?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with the process for applying for Medicaid.
Any idea why they might require that for Medicaid?
I'm not educated on what the process is, and given that you can't answer simple questions about the claims you're bringing me, I'm not interested in trusting your description of it. And I consider it a pivot away from my question. Demonstrate to me that voter fraud is a problem at all in the first place, because I just asked you something very specific. I used you as an example. I said that the number of people that you're murdering is a big problem. I don't have any evidence, but I'm not very good at keeping track of the people that you murder because I don't know who you are and I don't know where you live. So I'm very concerned that you're a murderer. Do you think we should pass legislation that puts you in jail to protect the people that I think you've murdered, or do you think the burden is on me to prove that you're a murderer?
But that's not acknowledging my point. That's directly obfuscating from what I'm trying to present to you, which I'm presenting. You're
trying to present to me that voter fraud is a big problem, and you're not. Why? Why do you think voter fraud is a problem? Who told you that?
Like, for example, if we don't catch someone committing voter fraud, does that mean it never happened?
If we don't catch you murdering somebody, does that mean it never happened? And my point is, you can say this about literally.
I'll answer that question easily. No, it doesn't.
Great. Should we put you in jail? Yes, if somebody commits voter fraud and we don't see it, it doesn't show up in the statistics. I understand that, but to be shown that voter fraud is a problem that deserves our legislative attention, that deserves perhaps sacrificing the disenfranchisement of certain groups, because that's really my issue with the SAVE Act, is that it's going to disenfranchise voters. We can talk about that in a second. Before we even decide if that's going to be worth considering, weighing voter disenfranchisement against preventing fraud, you need to demonstrate to me that the fraud is a real serious problem, because it would show up in the statistics if it was a big enough problem for it to be worth the voter disenfranchisement. I can argue that in a second, but again, why do you think that voter fraud is a problem in this country? Who told you that?
Like I said, the problem is we don't know how widespread it is, because most states refuse.
I don't know how many people you've murdered. I think we should put you in jail just to be safe.
Most states refuse to audit their voter rolls. I mean, they're not requiring proof of citizenship, and that's the entire
When you say
problem.
that states are refusing to audit their voter rolls,
example,
what you're saying is that the states are refusing to give up their voter roll information to the federal government, which is reasonable for them to do because the Constitution has protections of people's voter rights that gives the states the power to conduct their own elections. You're just saying that you're misrepresenting what's happening in such a way that it makes it look like the states are being secretive, when in reality they're just following the Constitution. So again, who told you that voter fraud is a big problem? Why are you so concerned about it? Because you can make up any potential crime that isn't being tracked well and say it's a big problem. How did you land on voter fraud?
Yeah. Well, you can see the reports are coming out every day now. States like Georgia are catching thousands of people who are not citizens on their voter roll.
All of the recent voter fraud instances that have been showing up in the news are instances of Republicans committing voter fraud. Very, very noteworthy that Elon Musk committed some voter fraud. I don't even think we should begin to talk about what Trump did with the 2020 election. It's pretty dangerous to talk about that on TikTok if you're on the wrong side of it.
Do you acknowledge that it happens?
Yes, the number of voter fraud cases. No, I don't acknowledge that.
Okay, Georgia didn't find thousands of non-citizens on their voter rolls. You need me to get you a source for that?
I would love for you to give me a source on that. And if the number is thousands, if the number's a 4-digit number, less than 10,000 but more than 1,000, I would still consider that a very, very small amount of voter fraud. That's kind of towards the top end, but that's kind of around where I expect it to be. Which again, I just don't think you're very good at math if you think that's a big problem. That's an insignificant amount of votes in a state as large as Georgia.
I'm saying that they should have never got onto the voter rolls.
That's correct. Yeah, any instance of voter fraud is bad, but disenfranchising millions of voters, which is what I'm worried will happen if the SAVE Act is passed, is not a good solution to a handful, relatively speaking, of cases of voter fraud. So again, please, you can bring me your source for that if you want me to look at. I don't even really feel like it needs a source, because I can just grant it to you and say if there is a 4-digit number of voter fraud cases in a state as large as Georgia, that's evidence for my argument that it's a very, very small issue statistically, and the odds of it affecting the outcome of an election are statistically insignificant. There are bigger problems to address than that.
For example, under that same logic, you should be fighting against requiring ID to go purchase a firearm. That would be disenfranchising people from their Second Amendment.
The problem is that the guy who works at the gun store isn't working for the government and can't look up your records and check on things. So yeah, you do need to prove to him that you should have a gun, but that's not how registering to vote works. You send your voter registration application to the government. Because they're not a private entity, because they're the federal government.
Have you never bought a firearm before?
It varies in state. I have not. It varies state to state. And I'm just saying, every time I talk about this, people say things like, oh, when you go to the bank, you need to supply all this documentation. Yeah, the bank's another private party. I'm not interested in what private parties require to prove who you are. The burden there is greater. Of course, you need to prove more to a private party. The government knows who you are. They know if you're a citizen. All you have to do is prove to the government that you are who you say they are, and then who you say you are.
How do you do that?
With identification, but requiring a passport or a birth certificate match.
Don't require that.
Listen, are you going to let me finish my answers? Because we're actually getting to some of the meat and potatoes of this conversation. Like, I'm saying that the burden of...
Sorry, go ahead.
The SAVE Act is not asking people to prove who they are. It's asking to prove their citizenship with a passport or a birth certificate matched with a photo ID that matches their last name, which particularly for women who have become married and have changed their last name might be difficult and might create a paperwork headache, one that might not be solved in time if millions of people have to apply for those documents by November. If the SAVE Act passes, it would actually be worse if the SAVE Act passes closer to November, because they'd have an even shorter time for the systems that Doge and Elon Musk gutted to be able to respond to an unusual inundation of millions of applications applications for documents. That, I think, is a way bigger problem than a few thousand cases of voter fraud, because I understand math and I understand the statistics of how likely it is for something to affect the outcome of an election. So again, I just see this as a non-issue. I see it as a nothing burger. I see it as an attempt flagrantly. Oh, I'm restricted. Oh, I got a misinformation restriction because I'm talking about voting stuff. I'm just going to take it on the chin. 10 minutes. It'll be over at 10:24. Anyway, yeah, so I just don't see it as a significant issue. You can't prove to me that it is a significant issue.
Yeah, see, that's what I was trying to stop you at the beginning. What did I try to stop you on?
You've tried to stop me every step of the way in this conversation. Just say what you're trying to say.
Okay. My main point being, if you were actually arguing that this process was going to disenfranchise voters, then you would also argue that people are being disenfranchised from things like federal benefits, student loans, health care, education, joining the military, all these things.
I think that there are disenfranchisement. I think there are disenfranchisement.
All right. Interrupt you. You would have to also argue that we need to roll back proof of citizenship for all these things like food stamps, Section 8 housing, because you're under your argument this is disenfranchising millions of people, especially married people. You know why we don't do that? Because the government says that's crazy. These programs would be riddled with fraud if we don't make absolutely sure that the person applying for said benefits is said person and that they actually are entitled to said benefits by being a citizen. They will never do that because it would be riddled with fraud, but we do it with our federal elections, which should be protected the most, because that's actually determining who is going to be getting said funding. So please explain to me how it's disenfranchising voters at the voter booth, but not disenfranchising people applying for benefits.
I'm not interested in your pivot to other topics. I do believe that disenfranchisement is a problem with those issues, and we'd have to have an analysis of the actual data about this stuff for each of them. And I'm asking you to give me your analysis of why you think voter fraud is a problem, and you still haven't done that.
So I'll say it for a fifth time. I think that the issue with voter ID, and you could look at multiple reports from experts. They've also debated this on the House and Senate floor multiple times, stating that the issue is it's extremely hard to catch. You're using a process that has been deemed to be a high risk of fraud, and that's why they won't use it for anything that has dollars attached to it.
By whom?
Who is deemed that not requiring a proof of citizenship or ID for social services is more likely to be riddled with fraud?
I need sources.
You need a source.
The chat's telling me that what you said. The chat's telling me that what you said about Georgia is false anyway. Apparently, it was 20 votes in Georgia. I recognize that because we don't know how many cases of voter fraud there is by the nature of the type of crime that it is. Because really, the only way for an undocumented or non-citizen to vote, undocumented person or non-citizen to vote, is if they steal the identity of a voter. But then have to run into the fact that most people do vote, and that's a person who would then notice that their identity has been stolen because he can't vote twice. So that kind of creates this system where it is very, very difficult for a person who's not a citizen to cast a vote. All I'm saying is that if we're agnostic about what the exact number is, you think it's a big number, I think it's a small number. The data says that it's a small number. The experts say that it's a small number. You're saying it's a big number. Why are you saying that?
Well, sorry, I'm trying to get your source now because you're asking me for a source on how requirements of citizenship and ID lower the chance of fraud.
Now, I can say about the things that get said on the House floor, like, of course, Republicans are pushing to pass the SAVE Act because it will benefit them by disenfranchising disproportionately blue voters. I know why they're doing that. I know why they're making these arguments. I can hear you regurgitating the sorts of arguments that they make. I don't know what you are talking about, because I'm demanding that you show me that this concern about voter fraud is real, and you're just sitting here floundering and bringing up random shit that isn't relevant to my question. Prove that it is reasonable.
I'm just making a very basic baseline that we both agree that when you for social services like Medicaid, Medicare, whatever, food stamps, if they change the requirements to not require documentary proof of citizenship.
You already said that. I already responded to it, and I am going to move on to another caller if you keep talking in circles.
Well, do you agree with that or no?
I'm not an expert on those systems, and
you asked me to get a source.
Your source to the question, is there widespread voter fraud, can't be what the application process for Medicare is. That's not. Then what are you talking about? Because I'm just
asking to get a baseline understanding between me and you that requiring documentary proof of citizenship and ID lowers the chance of fraud in said programs tremendously.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm saying that the existing voter fraud rate is not worth the cost of making those changes, because the cost of making those changes is disenfranchising millions of voters. What's worse, a few thousand cases of voter fraud in a given presidential election, or millions of people, disproportionately poor people and disproportionately women, being disenfranchised and potentially not being allowed to vote? What's worse?
You can't make that comparison because you don't know.
Wait. You gave me a very specific question that I had to answer honestly, that yes, I do think those policies would reduce voter fraud. Even before we get to whether or not you think that would be the result of the SAVE Act, do you recognize that disenfranchising millions of voters is worse than stopping 1,000 cases of voter fraud?
I also
all else kept equal, yes or no? Is it better to disenfranchise 1 million people or stop 1,000 people from voting who didn't have the right? Which is a better thing to do? Or which, is one worse than the other? Sorry, I phrased the question badly.
You can't make that comparison because you don't know.
I'm asking you which of those things you think is worse, all else kept equal. Don't talk about what you think is real in the world. Don't talk about how much voter fraud you think there is. Which is a worse thing to do? Allow 1,000 people who don't have the right to vote, or stop a million people who do have the right to vote from voting? Which of those is worse?
In your scenario, that does not apply at all to this situation. It would be stopping only 1,000, obviously.
Okay. Yeah.
That's not the scenario that we're talking about.
Wait, hold on. It's stopping 1,000. I'm saying stopping the million.
If you had a crystal, obviously stopping 1,000 would be worse, but that's not even relative to what I'm talking about. I'm saying that you're disenfranchising voters as well by allowing people who should never have the right to vote beyond voter rolls. They should have never got there in the first place.
You actually didn't say it clearly enough. I think you said it wrong twice in a row. I asked you to clarify, and you still said it wrong again. So just answer the question clearly again, so that we can then move on to whether or not it applies. Because you had to couch your answer and say, oh, you're a situation that doesn't apply to this situation. Correct. I asked you to answer it in a vacuum. Forget all the details. Forget that it applies at all. Yes or no, it is better to let 1,000 people who didn't deserve to vote than it is to take away the voting privileges of 1 million people who should be able to vote.
Yeah, in that scenario, obviously 1,000 people.
Okay, so now we can proceed to the part of the conversation where I feel I'm going to argue that passing the SAVE Act would be doing exactly that, and that brings us back to the question that you have refused to answer this entire time. Which is, why do you think that the number of fraudulent votes is large enough for it to make sense to risk disenfranchising those voters?
I think that the chance of fraud is high because you're not actually verifying or making anyone present documentary evidence.
That's not evidence. That's, trust me, bro, that's your hunch. That's your impression of the situation. And based on this conversation, I'm not at all going to trust your impression of the situation. You are just guessing. You are just guessing that the number is big enough. And I'm asking for proof. I'm saying, I'm
kind of trusting yours as well. Like I'm hoping that.
We can do the math on the number of people who will be affected in terms of their voter disenfranchisement by the SAVE Act. And it gets worse and worse with every day that passes, because if the SAVE Act passes close to November, people aren't going to have time to address their paperwork issues. People aren't going to have time to save up the money that they need for a passport if that's the route they go. The system isn't going to be able to deal with the millions of cases. We know how many millions of people are going to be affected and need to get their documents in order. And it's more people who can get documents.
That's an estimate.
It's an estimate that's in the tens of millions, as opposed to the estimate for voter fraud.
Opinion.
It's not according to an opinion.
It's an opinion paper. Yes, it is. They don't have a crystal ball to know exactly how many people would be quote unquote disenfranchised. You're taking someone's opinion and disregarding the opposite side.
Let me ask you this question. I'm going to ask you straightforward question. Listen, I'm going to ask you a straightforward, objective question. I guess it's your opinion, but do you think that the number of people who would have paperwork to do, a chore or some money to spend in order to be eligible to vote if the SAVE Act passes, do you think that number of people is more or less than 1 million people?
More or less than 1 million people?
More or less than 1 million people who will need to get a new birth certificate or a new passport.
Let's see. There's like 155 million voters. I'd say 90% of them already have to present some form of ID.
Only about half of them have the documents that they need under the SAVE Act. So that's the question I'm asking. If the number of people after the SAVE Act passes, if it passes, is the number of people who will now have a chore to do, something that costs a little bit of time or money getting their paperwork in order, is that number more or less than 1 million people, do you think?
Yeah, some people will have some administrative overhead to do to ensure that we grant the integrity of our election.
Disproportionately women and disproportionately poor people because of the nature of the things that the SAVE Act requires. I think it's much more than 1 million. I think it's actually not.
The value is there in securing our elections if people have to do a little legwork.
No, it isn't. You need to demonstrate that value by showing me that voter fraud is a widespread issue in this country, which you have repeatedly failed to do in this call.
How is that a failure to do so when I show you instances of other programs that have tried to implement the same quote unquote safeguards that were riddled with fraud? And there's reports out there that shows, and that's why they don't do this. They don't
social program. I think you're believing propaganda that I think you're believing. Excuse me. I think you're believing propaganda that those programs have ever been riddled with fraud, because they haven't. Social programs in America are amazingly successful when it comes to avoiding fraud. There is an acceptable fraud rate, just as there is with.
Why are they really good
It's a different question for each of them that we'd need to look at the exact process.
That's the important question. Why are they so good? Why are they not riddled with fraud?
I am not educated in the application process of
documentary proof of citizenship and real ID to verify your status. That's why it's hard to defraud them, because you got to go in.
You can't just take a solution from somewhere and apply it to a completely different thing and say it will work. A fire hose is a good solution if your house is on fire. I think that you're thinking about this as a problem. If I pointed a fire hose at it and blasted you, would it fix it?
Technically, yeah.
I don't think it would. I think it would make me look really bad for attacking my guests instead of having a conversation with them. I don't think it would be a good solution to the problem, because it's a different problem. You can't even demonstrate to me that voter fraud is a real problem, let alone a different problem.
And I'm saying that's the problem with the premise. And I don't know if you're pretending to not understand where my point is.
I understand your point. I've refuted it 3 times, and I'm not interested in hearing about other programs.
Well, so how do you not understand my refutation then? That the reason we don't apply these same safeguards is because we would lose billions of dollars and people would be held accountable, but we don't do the same in a federal election. That's what doesn't make sense.
Okay, but in order for us to need to put these protections in place to stop millions of cases of voter fraud, there would need to be millions of cases of voter fraud. But because there isn't, there's nothing on the table to save. The number of votes that are done fraudulently in this country is so catastrophically small that the benefit of such a program. Yes. You need to demonstrate that it's a big number. The experts disagree with you. The Heritage Foundation disagrees with you, dude.
No, you're assuming that my claim is that there's a lot of documented cases of voter fraud. I never made that claim.
There would have to be a large number of voter fraud cases in order for your point to make sense at all. I understand that they're not documented. I'm saying that you're just making them up. You're just asserting that this is a problem. Here's something we can do to look at whether or not there's voter fraud. We can look at whether or not the polls reflect the outcome of the election, because if we poll the population and the polls show up anomalously against the election results, that would suggest that the people voting don't represent the people that are represented in the polls. That would be one way to go, we don't know the voter fraud rate, but it must be big because look how different the polls are from the elections. But the better and better we get at math, the better we get at predicting elections. People like Nate Silver get it right. Like there isn't any anomaly in the voting data that would suggest.
Got it wrong in the federal election, like the past 3 elections. Like they had Trump.
Let's look at the last election. I'm going to answer that directly I'm going to answer that directly because if you're not educated on statistics, you can look at the fact that most pollsters expected Trump to lose all 7 swing states, and the fact that he won all 7 swing states makes it look like they got it completely wrong. Unless you look at the actual modeled outcomes of the election and realize that after him losing 7 swing states being the most likely outcome, the second most likely outcome, which had a pretty similar likelihood as the first one, was that he lost all of them. Because the fact is, it's not like rolling a Yahtzee. It's not like
what about in 2016?
No, I'm not going to. let you interrupt my explanation about 2024 to ask me about 2016. I'm going to continue explaining the fact that once one of the swing states flips, once we know the outcome of one of the 7 swing states, the swing states have this thing where, because they're all connected to the same thing, which is the general public's ideas about the president, once we know where one of them goes, suddenly the sensible thing to do is to bet that all 6 of the other ones are also going to vote the same way. So that night, on election night, once the first swing state was called, the sensible bet suddenly became that he was going to win all of them, which he did, because that was a hugely likely outcome. It was something like a third of the possible outcomes was him winning all of them. Something a little bit more than a third was him losing all of them, and then all the other combinations made up the other, like, less than a third of the possibility. So again, if you don't understand the statistics, which I'm not surprised by. Yeah, what is it?
2016. I don't think there was a single pollster that had Trump winning the election.
Once again, if the odds are 55-45, that's still about 50-50. You can't call everybody wrong for saying it was 55% this when it ended up being the 45% that. That's still accurate. What would be anomalous is if we had a bunch of math showing that the predictions didn't line up with individual districts and individual governors' races or senators' races. Like, that would demonstrate that there's voter fraud. But the fact of the matter is that the outcome of the elections is not statistically anomalous against what the predictions are.
What about abnormalities? Things like bellwether counties. Well, I'm not trying to get into that. I kind of got to get out of here anyways.
Okay, so before you go, do you have any proof that voter fraud is a big problem in this country?
I never said I did.
I'm glad you admit that.
I don't know why you keep asking me that. That was never my contention. That was never my claim.
You called in to talk about voter fraud, and you're sitting here admitting after a half hour that you don't have any proof that it's a problem. Like, what the fuck, dude? Like, why did we talk for 25 minutes then?
It's like you're like pretending to be dense. I'm telling you, my problem is that it's hard to catch. Experts have made this very clear, and the reason we don't apply the same safeguards to Medicaid and social services that we do to voter ID is because it's
go through the same things I already
because it's like you're not understanding my position. My position is not look at this study.
I don't think you're. I'm interrupting you because I already responded to everything you just said multiple times. Like, you know my position on those things. So what's the point?
And you know my position, you keep going back to, like, show me verifiable evidence. I'm telling you, well, it's actually really hard to, and a lot of people are saying that we should make changes there, and that's why we're trying to push up legislation.
People want to disenfranchise voters so that they can win the midterms, even though what they're doing is hugely unpopular. Their motivation is obvious, but their evidence is what's lacking, and we deal in evidence.
We disenfranchise people all the time to ensure the integrity of programs, and also not just that, ensure the integrity of constitutional rights. We disenfranchise people.
Okay, so you're pointing to disenfranchisement elsewhere and saying disenfranchisement is okay, we should do it with voting too? Is that your argument?
I'm saying that sometimes it's worth adding some obstacles to ensure that our elections are actually secure and the right person.
Right. The keyword there is worth it, and I've just not been demonstrated that voter fraud is a big enough problem for such disenfranchisement to be worth it. That's fundamentally the argument, and I just haven't heard any argument that suggests it is, because the number of potentially disenfranchised people is in the millions, as you admitted yourself, and the number of people who we think are voting fraudulently is minuscule according to everybody, including the Heritage Foundation. And again, it would show up in the polling data against the election results data if there was large enough voter fraud for it to be comparable an issue to this level of widespread disenfranchisement. I also think that it was interesting that I talked about the swing states thing and then you didn't even respond to what I said. I'm not convinced that you understood why it actually doesn't violate what I was just talking about, the statistics and the polling aligning with the outcome of the election that Trump won all 7 swing states. You didn't address that.
No, I got what you're saying. Like, the first swing state was going to dictate the more likely outcome, because the first most likely outcome was all lost. The second most likely outcome was all won. So when the first one fell, that now became the most likely outcome. Right. I get that.
So again, it's not a gotcha that Trump won the election. That was the second most likely outcome. What would be anomalous? What would be anomalous is if a bunch of counties voted for him that we didn't expect to. Okay.
Thanks for the chat.
Thanks for your time. Just I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I should thank him for the time. It was a waste of time. I should have kicked him earlier, because how many times did we go through the circle? 3 or 4 times? So we just started back over at the beginning. I will urge everybody to get double tapping on the screen that restriction that I got for misinformation's over. It's hard to talk about election stuff like election security on TikTok, because it'll flag various things. I got the flag, not him, I will admit. So my haters will think that I got the flag because I was spreading misinformation. And I'll just say TikTok isn't actually the arbiter of truth. If I said something wrong, please call into my show and tell me what it is and show me why you think it's wrong and show me your proof. I do have some people to thank, and I'm gonna, while you guys are double tapping away on the screen to get new callers in here, we've got people in the queue, so I will get to you guys soon. I do just have some people to thank who went to the link tree in my bio and decided to support the show with their wallets, because I got some hefty donations like yesterday, not while I was on the air, like after the show was over. Nick sent me $50 on Cash App and said, what did he say? He said, keep it up, dog. Great work. Simple message. And then I had another big donation on Venmo from, who was it? Oh, forgot her name. Kristen. Kristen sent me $100. And she said, it was just emojis. It's just a brain and a flag and a microphone. So I guess she likes what I'm doing here. But I just seriously need to thank the people who are very directly supporting the show, because like obviously every little bit counts, but I have to give some extra attention to people who like really send a chunk like that, because it, like, in terms of me thinking about how far into the future I can predict myself doing this show 2 hours every day and spending hours working on it, between Nick and Kristen, I got to like bump the day a further day. That's like a little bit more than my cost of living for a day from just 2 people. And that means I get to keep doing this, because I simply don't get to keep doing this if people don't support. So thank you, everybody. You can support me for free by going to the link tree in the bio and following me on the various things. But like, chat's already doing it. We're lighting up the chat with W's for Kristen and Nick, because Oscar's quitting his job to keep arguing with Republicans. Thanks for the gifts. We're gonna talk to Wangath Crusader, because you called in recently. I am just gonna skip you once. You're next. I'm gonna talk to Conversation Hijacker, and we're gonna see if he hijacks the conversation. But thanks again to the donors, because it's huge that I get to do this. I feel like I won the lottery. I just got to keep working hard to, not squander it, and keep running the show. Conversation Hijacker's having trouble connecting. Got the ball spinning on the screen. So we'll see if he makes it. I don't know. I might have to kick him. Usually when somebody has this hard a time connecting, there's like a big delay and an echo and stuff on their line. Yeah, I am going to disconnect you. Feel free to hop back in the queue and try again. Might have just been a tech issue. But we're going to talk to Wangath Crusader, who I know I talked to recently, but I don't remember. Ooh. Can we get rid of that background noise? Hello? Yeah. Oh. That was nails on a chalkboard, dude. I had to end that. Feel free to get back in the queue if you fix whatever that was. Disconnect your Bluetooth and get out of that noisy room if you want to come up. But we don't have anybody in the queue right now, so I will just talk to the chat a little bit and remind everybody to get double tapping away on that screen so we can get pushed out on the For You page. Do we have a goal going? We do. The goal thing has been less broken lately. For like the first 4 months of me doing this, the window that like puts the goal on the screen was like super laggy. I'd like click it and then it wouldn't do it for like a half hour. Anyway, look up Georgia for fun. I don't know. I'll Google it and see if there's a quick link to grab. Because he said there were thousands of cases of voter fraud, which like that's way more than I think that there are. But even if there are way more than I think that there are, that's still a really small number, because the actual number is so small that it would have to be not 10 times, not 100 times worse. It would have to be 1,000 times worse or something like that for it to be a big deal. Like when Trump was trying to get more votes in Georgia, it was like something like 15,000 votes, 50,000 votes, something like that. It was a 5-digit number. We're just not even talking about a 5-digit number of votes. Like the statistical likelihood of voter fraud changing an outcome of an election of any kind in this country is very, very small, and I need proof otherwise. Voter fraud cases in Georgia. Let's see. Maybe there will be. No, we're going to save that for later, because Justin's here. We're going to see what Justin wants to talk about. Hopefully he's a Trump supporter who's of age. How old are you?
41.
Are you a Trump supporter?
Yes, I am.
Why on earth?
Why on earth?
Yeah.
Come on, dude. He was better than Kamala that wanted to,
Kamala. Can you pronounce her name correctly?
Kamala Walla Ding Dong.
Kamala.
Kamala Walla Ding Dong.
I don't think you're capable of having polite discussion. I'm going to move on unless you can drop the act and pull it together.
I'm not putting. You guys put an act on, and now, yeah. So who's calling the kettle black here, bro?
I'm saying what you're doing is disrespectful. It's a demonstration to me that you're not willing to have a decent conversation.
How is it disrespectful? She was disrespectful to everybody else.
Do you think it's disrespectful to intentionally mispronounce a person's name, Justin?
See, there you go. See, you Democrats are clowns, bro.
I mean, I'm a performer. I do some clowning. I respect clowning as an art. The people who go to college for it study really hard, and they're good performers.
No, I think those are high school dropouts that can only, do that. So
Ringling Brothers Clown College is like more prestigious than Harvard.
Ringling Brothers, dude, they're not even around because PETA took them down because of how they were treating their animals, supposedly hurting them and shit. But yeah,
I'm actually on your team with that one. Yeah, they weren't kind to their animals.
How do you know that?
Because
I think they were real good to the animals.
No, I went to see one in New York when I was a kid, and I didn't like the way they were treating the elephants right in front of me. I didn't like it one bit. Anyway, I do think that the graduates of their clown college are qualified performers, though. Anyway, it's Kamala. Are you going to try to remember to pronounce it Kamala, or am I going to kick you?
At this point, dude, Kamala, whatever.
Kamala.
I said it, bro. Shit.
You said Kamala, which is not how it's pronounced. It's Kamala.
Okay, bro. Yeah, I know you Democrats gotta be freaking perfect on everything, and I know you guys can never do anything wrong. I forgot.
All right, all right, Justine. What are we talking about?
Justine, do you see an E at the end of my name?
I just feel like it belongs there.
An E belongs at the end of my name. Okay.
Yeah, I just don't think it's important to say your name correctly. Well, what do you
I don't feel it's important to say Kamala correctly. So why is MAGA built on lies? Answer that. Why is MAGA built on lies?
Because there's
what lies did MAGA say? Let's go. Come on.
Do you want me to pick one example, or do you want me to talk generally about the fact that the movement is built on lies?
What lies? Because to me, he's
do you
done
want me to speak generally? That's totally false. But do you want me to speak specifically about? Well, now there's a third thing you've brought up. Do you want me to give you an example of one big lie? Do you want me to talk about the fact that the MAGA movement is built on lies generally, or do you want me to respond to what you just said, which is that I assume you're talking about Trump, did everything he said he was going to do, which he did not. Which of those three things are we talking about?
What did he not do? What did he not do?
He said he wasn't going to go to war with Iran.
You're a joke, bro.
He was pretty clear on being the president of no new wars. He said that if we elected Kamala as president, she would send us to war. But he sent us to war, so I don't understand.
We're not in war, dude. We're in a conflict.
The Secretary of War refers to it as a war. The people who are
conflict, dude.
The people who are dying in Iran think it's a war.
Do you even know how to even confirm a war? It has to go through Congress. It hasn't gone through Congress. It's a conflict.
Okay.
See, this is what you Democrats like to run on.
Then why does the president call it? Why does the president call it a war, and why does the Secretary of War call it a war?
It's not a war. It's a conflict. It was never.
That's not an answer to my question. My question is very specific. My question is very specific, and I'm not going to move on in the conversation until you answer it. Why does the president and the Secretary of War refer to it as a war?
It's not a war. It's a conflict. You can have anyone serving and any veteran that served.
That's not an answer to my question. My question again is why does the president refer to it as a war, and why does Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, refer to it as a war?
It's not a war.
I'm not asking if it's a war. I'm asking why the president refers to it as a war and why Pete Hegseth refers to it as a war.
You guys watch AI shit and the AI shit, he does say it's a war. It's not a war. Sorry.
Are you suggesting that
you can miss me with that bullshit, bro? It's not a war.
Are you suggesting that Pete Hegseth and the president have not referred to it as a war?
They might have by accident, whatever, but it's not a war. It's a conflict.
Was it AI? Was it an accident, or is it an accident that they keep making? Because if it's an accident, they make an awful lot, and I think that's a problem.
Do we have boots on the ground in Iran right now? Do we have boots on the ground in Iran?
We did when we rescued our fighter pilot. No, not at the moment. Not that we know of.
Right now, do we have boots on the ground?
I don't think that boots on the ground are a requirement for a war.
Yes, it is. We have to have boots on the ground for it to be a war.
I don't believe that's true.
Iraq was a war because we had boots on the ground. We're fighting Iran from the air.
Yeah,
so it's not a war, it's a conflict.
I don't think that that's what the definition of a war is, and Pete Hegseth and the president would disagree with you because they very frequently refer to it as a war.
No, it's a conflict.
They discuss the things to do in Iran in the war room at the White House.
Yeah, it's called a war room. Everyone knows that.
Yep.
But it's not a war what's going on in Iran right now because we don't have boots on the ground, genius.
I don't think that you need boots on the ground for it to be a war.
Yes, you do.
If Russia sent 100 planes over the sea and they came and dropped bombs on American cities, would you say that we're at war with Russia?
No, we're in a conflict with Russia. There's a difference.
I'm not interested in your semantic arguments. Trump said he wasn't going to do this, and he did.
He did it because Israel needed our help, and we're allies with Israel.
Do you believe in the America First policy that he also ran on?
America First? He does put America first.
Well, you just said that he put Israel first.
Okay, so let me get this. You're waiting for them to attack us so then we can go and fight, right? You want them to attack us.
I don't want
instead.
That. No, I don't want that.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. All you Democrats want them to. You want them to attack us before, so we can go and you guys can see.
I don't want that.
He did go by America first. No, he is going by America first, and
I don't want that. You're telling me that I want something that I don't, and you said that.
I know how you Dems work.
I know how I work. I'm a victim of terrorism. My father almost died on
night. Victim. Here we go. Just like Johnny said.
No. We're gonna see.
Tear, dab, dab. I need a ballroom. Tear, dab, dab. No tears, dab,
Let's just see if you can be respectful and patriotic about the fact that I like.
I am patriotic. My mom and dad served. The fuck?
Okay. Can I just tell you what I'm trying to tell you?
Looks like you didn't serve, but you could
excuse
eat
me.
Some.
I was in Manhattan on 9/11, and my father worked there. And
what do you do? Good for you. Want a cookie?
No, I just want you to like listen to my perspective on the concern I have about like Islamic terrorism and our conflicts in the Middle East. Are you capable of listening to my perspective on that?
Go ahead, genius. Let's see what you got to say.
I have really terrible asthma from 9/11, and my father drank himself to death after 9/11 because he was really scarred by watching so many people die that day. I don't want there to be more terrorist attacks in this country. I think that that's a really serious problem, and I'm really thoroughly convinced that.
Well, then close our borders like he's doing, and stop letting these illegals in. There we go, genius. Let's go, Poindexter.
Are you suggesting that 9/11 was the result of illegal immigration?
Could have been, yeah. Could have easily been.
All right, before I let you go, what are the three branches of the government?
Suck my dick, fuck your mom, and go suck your daddy's dick.
You don't know the three branches of the government?
I just said the three branches of the government. Suck your dick, go fuck your dad, and suck your mama's dick.
Do you think that you're qualified to have a conversation about American politics?
Yeah. But not with the Democrats like Poindexters like you that don't know shit.
Well,
I'm scarred. I'm a victim of 9/11.
I was just giving you my perspective.
Fucking get out of that bullshit. I'm a victim. You guys like to play that fucking victim card.
Why don't you think it's important?
Just like if there was a trans, you say, "Oh, I'm a victim of a transsexual."
Excuse me. Watch it with your language. I don't want to have to like kick you just for being disrespectful and using what are like probably gonna turn into.
Okay, so what's a woman? Here. Okay,
I'm not going to let you pivot onto that. We're not going to pivot onto that. We're going to stay on the three branches of the government.
There you go.
We're going to stay on the three branches of the government. So you admit that you don't know the three branches of the government. That's okay.
I told you what they were. Suck your daddy's dick. Suck your mama's dick.
Got to remove you for probably for harassment and bullying. Yeah, harassment and bullying. Okay, he got the flag. Anyway, TikTok was less patient than he was. Another guest who doesn't know the three branches of the government. That's always fun. If you like me demonstrating that Trump supporters don't even understand how the government works, you can go to the link tree in my bio and follow me on the other platforms. That helps me out with the growth of the pages and everything, and doesn't cost you a dime. And if you have a dime you want to spare, you can send it to my Venmo, Cash App, Buy Me a Coffee, or Patreon, so I can quit my job and keep paying my rent. We're going to talk to Cheddar Nick. Cheddar NIC. If he connects. How old are you?
28. Do you have to support Trump to talk?
I am just looking for debates with people who support Trump. I have like kind of friendly time towards the end. If you call in after 11:30, which is 45 minutes from now, then I allow friendly calls.
Okay. Unfortunately, that with how the callers have been going, it takes 30 plus minutes just to get one sentence out without
Yeah,
a loop.
that happens sometimes.
So,
What's your political position though?
Oh no, I don't support Trump. I'm a lot more leftist for sure. I wouldn't say I'm Democrat though either.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna let you go. But if you have some things that you want to discuss, you can let me know towards the end of the show after 11:30. And Kenneth Fox in the chat. I don't have a publicly facing PayPal, but I do know who you are and I trust you. So if you want to message me, I could send you the PayPal. I just don't put that one on the link tree. We're gonna talk to Sassy's Core 67. I think I'm reading that correctly. We shall see. That's 11:30 Central, yes. Oh, no, they disconnected. We're going to talk to a blank account with just a dot as a username. Very suspicious. I'm going to hover over the disconnect button in case we get a slur and run. How old are you?
18.
What year were you born?
2007, June 13th. About to be 19 pretty soon.
Okay, I'm going to believe you. You a Trump supporter?
I used to be. I would say I'm more conservative, no longer MAGA.
Do you think that Trump should stay president, or do you think he should be impeached?
I think he should stay just because I think JD is way worse.
Well, my thing about... I'm going to keep you on the line for a moment, but I might opt to kick you just depending on how the conversation goes if I feel it's right for what I'm doing on the show. Because I do think it's important to speak to voters like you who think about it that way. Because I just want to tell you the way that I think about the whole Trump versus Vance thing and just get your thoughts on that. Can we do that?
Yeah.
I think it's really important to impeach Trump. Because if Vance becomes president, which I think is very likely, because Trump is ailing, he's old and fat and in poor health, and hiding his medical diagnoses, obviously, because he has too many IV marks on his hand for how frequently he says he goes to the doctor.
Same with Biden, though. It was the same with him, hiding his health.
Biden was too old and his mental acuity was totally failing. Not relevant to the discussion. I do just happen to agree about that. Anyway, so I think it's very likely that J.D. Vance could become president. The issue I have is that if J.D. Vance becomes president because Trump gets 25th potentially by his cabinet, if his health continues to decline, or if he dies, what we'll have is J.D. Vance, who is not senile, who is not as unpredictable, he's not as crazy as Trump, but he'll be president of a United States that has learned that we don't impeach presidents if they break the Constitution. Whereas if we impeach Trump for violating the Constitution, J.D. Vance will then become president under a Congress that he knows will impeach him if he breaks the Constitution. And I think that is our best path forward right now. I think J.D. Vance should become president, but he should do it knowing he'll immediately be impeached if he violates the Constitution.
Okay, I can see that working, yeah.
Yeah, so I hear you. I'm not excited about J.D. Vance. I don't think that'll be good. I think he will more fastidiously and successfully try to push the policy positions of the Heritage Foundation and such fascists as Stephen Miller or Pete Hegseth, and I'm worried about that. But I think that if the reason he becomes president is because Trump gets impeached, there'll be a leash around his neck. He'll suddenly have to follow the Constitution again or face impeachment, and I think that's more important than any of this. Any particular policy concern.
Now, how did you feel about Thomas Massey being replaced?
I'm not surprised that he's been ousted from his seat for going against Trump. I think he's a good case study in what it means for a Republican to go against Trump. Because as much as I don't like Thomas Massey, generally, I don't agree with his politics. I don't agree with his policy positions. So I'm not super excited about the idea of him winning. I am excited about him being a Republican who I can say those negative things I just said about him. But I don't think he's a pedophile supporter. I don't think he's trying to protect people who've done crimes against women and children. And I think we need more of that. And he's a perfect demonstration of the fact right now that mainstream Republican politics do not allow people who won't protect pedophiles to hold their seats. That's a big problem.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the fact that he didn't lose his seat for all of his reprehensible... Oh, the guest left. Interesting. Nobody in the queue. How's everybody doing? Oh man, let's see what the mods got in the chat. Oh, I'm so disorganized today. Exposing the E-class will expose more corruption and extortion. Yeah, I mean, I keep seeing people who say that if the Epstein files come out or if it all gets prosecuted, it'll be like this big calamitous disaster in America. And I'm like, bring it on. You know, like if the house is built on a pedophilic foundation, we need a new house. We're going to talk to Luke Boulin, familiar name. I think maybe I've spoken to him before. Ooh, lots of background noise, though. Are you driving a car?
I'm riding in a car right now, actually.
Have your driver say something.
Is it that bad?
It's pretty bad, and have your driver say something.
What's up, man?
Okay, I do actually believe that you have a driver, but I am just going to say the background noise is too much, so I need you to call back when you're not in a car.
All right, 10-4, Hail Hitler, my friend.
Probably not going to have him back. Probably not going to have him back. Maybe. I don't know. It's always like, I guess my issue is less that he supports Hitler because I put such reprehensible people on the show all the time. It's that he thinks it's a funny gag to say that, to sign off a call that suggests to me he's probably going to be disruptive and try to get the show taken down for the sort of bans that we have dealt with twice today already. So I'm okay with letting Hitler supporters on the show. They just got to be cool. Like TikTok terms of service wise, something suggests to me that he's not going to what do we got? We got 250 people watching, almost 100K likes, and we're halfway through the show. So I am going to start being a little bossy and demand that everybody watching the show get double tapping away on the screen and light up the comments. I'll read some comments and see what I can ask or see what I can answer to keep the show busy. Because at the end of the day, me sitting here rambling isn't the best show. Oscar, do you plan to start dual streaming on YouTube? Yes, hopefully this week. I am looking to get that sorted out. I've done a couple of attempts on it. I'm just running into issues where like my computer's clearly trying to process the rendering in the wrong way because my computer's powerful enough to do it, but both streams lag when I try to do it. So I'm just trying to figure out where my bottleneck is. If anybody has any wisdom on that. Oh, and before I let Serial in, there is a question about separatism in Alberta, and I am like half Canadian. My mom's side of the family is Canadian, so I do want to give a little bit of a shout out to my Canadian viewers because I know that what we do down here does totally affect them. I'm not super educated on the separatist movement in Alberta, and I do know that your prime minister has referred to it as treason. So I will say, if you want to talk about separatism in Alberta, I would be interested in the conversation, but I'm just going to reserve it for friendly time, which is in about a half hour after 11:30. The Just Us Girls half hour, I suppose it is these days. Anyway, sorry, I keep losing my train of thought by looking over at the Discord. We're going to talk to Serial and see what Serial wants to talk about. Serial. How old are you?
26.
You a Trump supporter?
No, but I voted for him. But I have a question.
Okay. What's your question?
Do you believe lying is always wrong?
I believe that lying is usually wrong in the same way that violence is usually wrong. I have exceptions for things like self-defense.
Well, so do you believe lying is objectively wrong?
Not in the philosophical objectivism sense, no.
But you would say in the majority of cases, you would believe that lying is wrong, right?
If a child came to my door and said, please, there's a pedophile after me, will you protect me? And I let him in the door, and then the pedophile knocked on the door and said, is little Billy in here? I'd like to see him. I would lie and tell the pedophile, no, haven't seen a kid today.
Well, I would hope that you would say that because, like, Anne Frank, you would support her lying, right?
Yes.
So we can say that is there a source where you get that the majority of lying is wrong?
Sorry, did you just ask me for a source that would say that the majority of lying is wrong? I think that's... I don't think that's a meaningful question. I think it's an opinion whether lying is wrong in a particular circumstance. I gave an example where it would be obviously right. I think in a lot of examples it's obviously wrong. What's your point?
To me, lying can be wrong, but the question is it wrong in the majority of cases?
I would assume so. I think that most cases where lying happens, it's a situation where the liar is trying to achieve something that they shouldn't achieve, not the sort of example I gave earlier. So I'm wagering a guess because I don't really know statistics about ethical analyses of lying the world over.
You probably don't want to get into like some sort of philosophical argument, do you?
I don't know. My mods are lighting up the Discord saying that you're a problem, so I'm maybe a little interested in seeing where this goes.
I'm not a problem. I did support this person who was a bad person. But yeah,
Okay.
have a good day.
That's it? I don't know. I think Serial's afraid to talk to me. I think some of the regular problematic characters on TikTok are finding that the Oskar Quentin debate show is not the place to be if you're going to peddle nonsense. But once again, we have an empty queue, so I will urge everybody to get double tapping away on the screen. I'm sitting here wondering if I should have restarted the stream after I got that ding at the beginning for misinformation, because I don't really know how it affects the rest of the stream. But we're doing okay. It is Tuesday. School's in session. We don't have the younger viewership. Elvis Trump. Hello, Elvis Trump. I'm going to try to say hello to Elvis Trump in every episode. Leslie says, good job. Yeah. And Brooklyn Views is advising that I always restart the stream after that. So maybe that's... Maybe that'll be the policy going forward, because it's been a while since I've gotten the flag. I've just gotten better at being careful about the language I use to avoid TikTok stream. I don't know how much it is me doing better, or if it's like just that my account is like bigger and it's like harder to get me a ding. I don't really know how it works. How was the rest of my Memorial Day? Boring. I worked. I had work to do. Still got a slave. I'm mostly quitting the jobs, but we're getting there. What's Memorial Day? Memorial Day was yesterday. It's where we celebrate our veterans who've given their life in service to this country, which I do have reverence for. Like, I always try to thank the people who've served when they come on the show, even if I disagree with them. Alejandro sent me $10 on Venmo. He said, great job in your show. Keep up the good work and all the best in your future endeavors. How nice of you, Alejandro. Thank you so much. Both for the kind words and for the donation. Because as I've been saying, because, as the whole show, it's... As I say every show, it's such a big deal to me that so many people are willing to use their wallet to give me the platform, because I just couldn't do this if I was only going on the ad money. It's just not enough, not even close yet. It's really the donations that drive the fact that I can call this a day job. So I just got to be reasonable about being financially responsible as I navigate this thing, and you guys are definitely making it easier. And thanks for 100k likes. Got that 0.1 million on the screen, but still nobody in the queue. So I'm going to continue to be annoying and say, yeah, you got to keep double tapping away on the screen if you want more callers. But I'll read some more chat questions for now. Let's see. I'm from Kentucky and disgusted by what happened here last week. What happened in Kentucky last week? Am I misremembering? I don't remember the story from Kentucky. Chris says, I'm driving. This has a good radio show. I love that people appreciate it as a good radio show, because I call it a radio show just to farm engagement by annoying the chuds who are like, this isn't a radio, it's TikTok Live. This isn't a call-in show, it's TikTok Live. I'm pretty sure if Alexander Graham Bell was alive, he'd look at what we were doing and he would consider these things to be phone calls. Anyway. What do you think of our immigration and how should we fix it? Yeah, I think amnesty for those who are here, and we need to allocate a large amount of federal resources to making the process for applying to be a new resident faster. Even if we do have to decline a lot of people, I think the problem is that it takes so long to get an answer at all that incentivizes people to hop the fence. I do think it'll be expensive. Probably less expensive than deporting 12 million people, and better for the economy if we let those people stay. So we've just been messing up on it for so long. We need like a reset on that. I should read Trump's Memorial Day tweet. Was it a tweet or a Truth Social? Let's see if do I have to be logged in to get it? I don't even remember if my burner Truth Social account is logged in here. Oh my God, He's comparing the size of the White House reflecting pool with skyscrapers. Why is that oh my God, he's been on a meme tear. I should put it on the screen. He's been on such a big meme tear, I can't even get to yesterday. Oh my God, look at all the memes that the president is posting. I'm not going to keep scrolling. Whatever he said, it was probably unpatriotic. But if he did say something specifically crazy, I would be interested in seeing that. So somebody can send me a link or something. The president's just like constantly sending memes about, whatever he thinks in the middle of the night is bizarre. And he's going insane. So it's a little window into his psyche, the fact that he does those bizarre retweets and stuff like that. Let's see. Neely says I call them tweets. Yeah, I call them tweets too. I still call actual tweets just because I think it's silly that Elon Musk rebranded it as X. How is the youth supposed to learn decorum if the president doesn't have it? I think that's a huge problem. You know, I've had younger callers on where I try to always operate with that lens of I try to always operate with a lens of like, all right, Trump became the center of American politics when you were in elementary school. You don't know what it's like for our politicians to have any kind of decorum. But one of the mods got me with the quote. Trump said, "Happy Memorial Day to all, including the Democrats who disrespect our military and all the treasonous and all of the tremendous success that it has had over the last year. God bless those that have made the ultimate sacrifice. I love you all, President Donald J. Trump." So he leveraged Memorial Day to call the Democrats the Democrats. I think that was very disrespectful of him to do that to our veterans and to those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice because yeah, why would you leverage that platform to like dog on your political opposition instead of just actually letting the time go to the people you're supposed to be respecting? What do I think about Musk's ex saying that they rigged the election? You know, it's very dangerous talking about rigged elections for two reasons. One, I'm on TikTok Live, and TikTok Live is just like real willy-nilly with the disinformation flags if you talk about it. But I also don't want to be the Democrat that like cries, you know, rigged election every time I lose an election. Because I've been saying the whole time since 2024 that we lost the election fair and square and that we have to deal with it. But I do actually think that there's reasonable cause to investigate maybe some of the things that Elon Musk was involved in, or other such things that I can't be super precise about on TikTok Live, unfortunately. But I will just say as my final thing, I do not assert that I think anything is certainly the case unless I am certain and I see certain proof. So I think that her saying that is further reason to continue investigating that, but I'm just not going to promote conspiracy theories about elections. And Chromosomes is apologizing in the chat for not knowing it's a TOS issue. It's not really a TOS issue for you to bring it up in the chat. I just have to be careful about how I word it. But I mean, the big thing, the easy way to get flagged on TikTok is to talk about the previous election to that one. And that is one in which Donald Trump did some obviously fraudulent things, like real deal attempts at insurrection, not just the January 6th thing, like I can't say the words, but FAKE electors, those types of electors that he sent to try to get himself certified as president instead of Biden. Like that's the big story there. The people of MAGA are evolving into crabs. That I will assert. That's clearly the case. Literally. I mean that so literally that I'm just going to keep stating that MAGA are evolving into crabs until somebody takes it actually literally and accuses me of thinking that. Because it doesn't matter how clearly you're joking. It doesn't matter how obviously sarcastic you're being. People will still soundbite it. The soundbites I'm starting to see of me are hilarious because it's like, I post a 2-hour show. Go watch it in context if you want to. We're going to talk to Anon Amiss. And I'll remind everybody to get double tapping away so we can remind the For You page that Oskar Quentin has a caller and the show is interesting again. How old are you?
Hello there, Oscar. I'm 27.
27. Do you support Trump?
I do not.
Ooh, I am going to let you...
Am I too early for friendlies?
I don't have another caller right now, so if you want to ask me a question, give me a prompt for something to talk about, I'll let you have the floor for a moment.
I do have a question if you're willing to entertain it, and that would be along the lines of, is it appropriate for a world leader, even in jest, to post something... I'm not sure how to say it without angering the TTOS. Removal of a culture, even in joke.
We can talk about genocide. Is that what you're getting at?
Okay, good.
Yeah. We can talk
that exact post that he made. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll let you go just to help the show keep getting promoted. But I will address your thing about, which I think you were talking about, Trump posting on Truth Social that he was going to have an entire civilization die tonight, the day he was trying to negotiate a peace deal with Iran or a ceasefire deal with Iran. I think that sort of thing, no. I don't think that they're like, I think that that's such a nuclear thing for the commander-in-chief to talk about. I don't think that there's any acceptable comedic context for the president to say that. I'm okay with the president telling jokes. Obama had a great sense of humor. Biden didn't. Biden wasn't very funny. Obama was pretty funny. And I'm even in a similar situation where like I'm not the president, so it's not like strict like that. But I have to be careful about the jokes I tell, especially on here. But I am willing to tell some pretty crass jokes, some pretty like off-color jokes about everything that's happening. It's just that if you watch, 30 seconds on either side of the joke, it's a joke. Clearly, it's a joke. Look at me laughing. Look at me smiling. People say that about Trump, but I'd say, yeah, I wouldn't be giving people those sound bites if I was the fucking president. That's different. Obama dipping a cookie into a cup of milk that it didn't fit in and sighing and saying thanks Obama, that's just funny. Like, the president's allowed to tell jokes, but no, I don't think the president should joke about genocide, like, at all. It's just there's the 0.1% of people who are always going to think you're serious is just not worth it with something like that. And that's what I've learned as I've gotten more popular online, is that, like, I've never had so much of an appreciation for the phrase haters gonna hate, because of course haters gonna hate. Like, obviously, I've been on the internet a long time. I'm not surprised by that. I'm a musician. I'm not a stranger to people saying that my art is bad. Like, that's not the issue. But what I'm realizing now is that it's not even about people thinking your art's good or bad or disliking you, your general personality or anything like that. It's deeper than that. It's that you can post a video, and if 1,000 people, if 1,000,000 people watch it, some big number of people, there's going to be a small fringe number of people who genuinely hate you after watching that video. Oskar did something in this video that means I hate him forever, and I'm going to spend a few weeks of my life harassing him on every platform about this thing that he said, which isn't even important, isn't even a big deal, isn't even part of his personality, it's just some random comment about some random thing, whether they're right or wrong about it, whether I made a small slip of the tongue or whatever the fuck happened. Like, that's what we had with the Savannah Hernandez situation. I was present for a fight at the Whipple building, the Whipple Federal building that ICE operates out of in Minneapolis, where Savannah Hernandez, a Turning Point USA correspondent, was assaulted, and I broke up the fight. And I said some words to the crowd. I was yelling at the crowd to get them back away from her, and people watched it, and a lot of people decided I'm a terrible person based on the things I said. And it's just like, in the heat of a moment, I broke up a fight, and I told the guy who did the bad thing, I said, like, "No, I love you, back up." I was like diffusing with love. So people hate me for that, and it's just like, I don't know, dude. Like, am I supposed to slow down time when I'm in the middle of a fight and consider every possible thing that everybody might think about what I'm saying? I guess in a perfect world, I'd be able to do that. But the fact of the matter is, there was a fight and I broke it up, and that's really all the story was that day. And yeah, it's people, if people are going to hate me for that. Goat C says, do I ever work out? Yeah, pretty accomplished runner, which is why I'm so skinny right now. I've gone back and forth between lifting and running, probably 4 times in my 20s. I'm in my 30s now. So running is the goal right now. So I'm still pretty skinny, but I think in this summer I might make the switch. I might do a bulk over the winter, get big again, just to keep the chuds at bay. All right. What are the mods sending me? Is this a clickable link? Visit site. Yes. Okay. I am going to read Donald Trump's Memorial Day post. It's longer, but I'm just going to read it out. Because, oh wait, hold on. No, I'm not, because I don't know if this is actually the post. Mods, give me a link to the Truth Social exactly so I can see what it is if you want me to read it. But I think all the Trump supporters are at school, which means none of them are adults, because I'm not getting a caller today. You don't have bullet time? Damn, I was hoping this was the Matrix so we could just reboot the PC. Yeah, man, I really do just levy the accusation that everybody who thinks I misbehaved when I was breaking up that fight has never been in a fight. Like, they just don't know what it's like. I have some music venue experience. It's like I've been a professional at breaking up fights in my past, and it's just, I don't know. The people who are mad at me for de-escalating, they just wanted the fight to be worse, whichever side they were on. Are you planning on playing Johnny Cash? Maybe. Might do a song today. I mean, I feel like I'm not getting callers today, so maybe it'll just become become a friendly stream. When or if you increase your daily lives to 3 or 4 hours, no pressure, well, some pressure. Oh man, that's probably a while down the road. The issue is that there's a lot of work outside of the show that has to do with how my like how quickly my pages are growing, that is very difficult work for me to offload to other people, because I have this really tight production schedule where every single day I do this show, and then right at 12 I start editing it so I can get all the clips up, because I have to listen to the entire show through again to grab the good moments. And then then at the end of that, I can upload the YouTube VOD. And days like today, where I have a meeting at 3 o'clock, I'm not going to have time to do that. So I am going to push the YouTube VOD before I'm done editing the clips, but I still have to come home and do that so it doesn't pile up by tomorrow. And deciding how to cut the clips is really one of the creative components of this that's driving my success. So it's very, very hard to offload that work to somebody else and trust that they're going to do a good job, because I sit here and like bury my head in the statistics of how my videos do on Instagram and all that stuff. So I can't just like, it's just too skilled labor. It's too much like exactly what my perspective and my personality and my opinion on it, all of it is what's driving the success right now. So it's very, very hard to, like, even if I was paying somebody to do it, it'd be hard to trust that they're doing a good job. So I don't know, if you want the show to keep growing, more donations, please. The mods have a motion for restart to get the live back out. I think we're not being promoted on the For You page, and I think I'm going to listen to their advice. We're going to restart the stream, everybody, which means that if you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, you don't have to do anything. But if you're here now, follow me if you're not following me already. And the stream is going to be down for about 10 seconds, and in about 10 seconds, you'll be able to click my face on the screen and just go right back to watching me live. But this live is going to end. I'm just going to do a new one. We're going to see if we can get some more, get some new chuds in for me to talk to, because I don't think we're getting shown. Noodle. Hello, Noodle. W's in the chat for Noodle before you go. All right. Excuse me, Noodle. I've trained her that snapping my fingers means I can't keep petting you. It's working great. Anyway, 10 seconds. I'll be back. Don't go anywhere. Okay, sorry for the dead air on YouTube if I forget to edit it out, because I always forget when I'm doing the restart. I should keep talking because the people listening on YouTube get dead air while I'm doing the restart. I usually think I get like a breath, but because I'm recording, I shouldn't. But yeah, misinformation flag 5 minutes into the show is bad. Or 10 minutes into the show, whatever it was. All right, everybody's showing back up. I already see the likes driving back in. That's good. I should have told everybody to give W's in the chat for Noodle when they get to the new stream, because that'll help. That'll help the new one. Vicky Murray can't wait until I'm on YouTube. Yeah, I'm excited for that too. And I mean, and I'll be straightforward. Part of that's monetization. I'm excited to like see if I get I have to explore all that. But it's also more overhead. I have to figure out, like, we have mods that mind the chat for me. I can't mind another chat while running the show. I can already barely mind this chat when I'm running the show. So if we're gonna do YouTube, I need to assign mods to the other chat so we know who's doing what, so that one of the chats doesn't get like left behind. Do I have a Discord? Jay Geekman, I trust you as a friendly. If you want to message me, I'll get you in the Discord. The Discord for now is like, it's becoming more public. We only have like 20 something members, but we're just like growing it slowly as we have it under construction. But I do trust you as a friendly. If you want to message me, I'll get you in there. And that's kind of the burden right now, is that if me or the mods recognize you as a longtime viewer, somebody who's proven themselves to be a friendly, then we're okay with you coming on the Discord. But there's cool stuff we're trying to do on there. I have big dreams of getting it big enough and popular enough, getting enough manpower over there that we can start building, like, the Chud Wiki is a project I really want to get started on eventually, which is, and I like, we had Serial on. And everybody said Serial's a problem, but I didn't remember him. I'm pretty sure I've talked to him before, but I didn't remember him. But the mods lit it up and said he's a problem. There should be a Wikipedia to go look up the debate hosts in them, both the hosts and the callers, and like learn who these people are. You should be able to read the lore on Jill on a Wikipedia somewhere, or Amos Moose, or RC, or like all these repeating characters on the show, because it just isn't like. It's hard to Google who these people are, but it's relevant to what I'm doing. It's relevant to the debate space on here. So I think that'd be valuable. Maybe throw around enough No Kings talk. Maybe they will show. Yeah. Everybody, let's talk about trans rights and how we don't like kings. That'll attract the chuds. Liam needs his own wiki. Ugh, says let the Wookiee in. Yeah. There's certain characters who are like, would be the there's like a top 10, right? We could have like a wall of shame where it's like the worst of the worst on TikTok. Who would it include? We'd have such characters as Liam and RC. You mute, you lose. That guy's fun. Love it when you mute, you lose, Colin. I think so far I have 100% success rate on the guy you mute, you lose calling in. I've never muted him, and he always runs. He's never concluded a conversation with me. And he always runs quickly after 5 or 10, 15 minutes, something like that. Like I've never actually gotten that guy to stay for a conversation because he cannot handle a host that doesn't mute him. It's the only strategy he's got. Shays says, unfortunately, I think they'd be proud of the recognition, positive or not. A lot of them are just like mean like that, you know, like they don't care that people like are giving them attention because they're evil. Fawcett is like that. He's one of the people who like laps up the negative attention, which is, I guess I'm a little happy he hasn't been calling in very much anymore. But Mama Avery is saying Trump 2028. I love you, Mama Avery. Have I debated Scotty doesn't know yet? I think so. I feel like I've debated some Scotties, but part of the reason I want the Wikipedia is because I can't keep it straight. I can't remember whose username is what or who I've talked to or anything like that. Like it's a real like ADHD problem that I have, that I just cannot remember who is who. And I have somebody to thank. I have Joseph to thank. He sent me $20 on Cash App, and he said he says, I love the show. Thank you. Thank you, Joseph. I really appreciate you. Lunch is on you today because I have a lunch to have about a gig I'm having tomorrow, and I'm gonna support the venue I'm performing at by getting lunch there. So W's in the chat for Joseph. I don't have my notifications set up very well, and Venmo won't send me notifications, so I constantly need to check it throughout the show, which is bad host etiquette. But I feel like we're already devolving into friendly time, right? Like, is today a wash on getting more debates? Are we just going to do friendly time? I think I'm going to declare an early friendly time because we're not getting debates. And it's, of course, as soon as I get a friendly call in, the chat will fill, the box will fill up with people who want to debate. Andrea says, have you debated Liam? Many times, under many accounts. He keeps calling back. Which flavor of problematic is Liam? A bunch. I don't remember. It's hard. See, like, people like Liam and RC are like in this upper echelon of problematic callers where I know they're like nuclear level problematic, but I genuinely cannot remember who's who. Like, which reprehensible thing is it? Is that an RC thing or is that a Liam thing? Liam is Amos Moose, right? Those are the same people. I'm trying to get it straight. This is why I want the wiki, so I can like peruse it once a week. Someone says the new Minnesota state flag is better than the old one. I agree. When we voted, when we did the poll on like the new flag design, this is not the one that I voted for, but I do like it much more. I liked all three of the new suggestions more than the old one, so I'm happy with it. Have I ever talked to Jill? I did talk to Jill. I got Jill to take a deep breath with me. That was my victory, and then I kicked her because there's no point in talking to Jill. Inside jokes for those who don't know the TikTok debate scene, but Jill is a very, very confused older woman who yells a lot, and I got her to take a deep breath, and then I kicked her. Let's see. Don't vote blue. Why not? Big Lou 38. Do you want to debate? Big Lou, you can get in the box and we can talk about why I think you should vote blue. I've been getting in so much trouble with the communists and the Marxists and the Leninists and the like philosophical democratic socialists who don't believe in government or whatever, which doesn't really make sense to me. Because I do just think, oh yeah, Popcorn's another more person to add to that list. He's crazy. I do just think it's not valuable to be like, Marxism's better, man. Like, we shouldn't do government at all, or whatever the thing it is. Because like at the end of the day, we have this emergency with civil rights in America that just isn't going to be solved by saying that the Democrats are bad too. Like, ideologically, philosophically, I think that the Philbros who want to support that sort of thing would actually be shocked to learn how much I agree with them about my ideals for what society should be eventually. I just think their heads are up their ass if they think that you shouldn't vote for Democrats in the midterm. Like, if you don't think that that's important right now, then like, what the heck, you know? Have you dealt with rich poor? I don't think so. I think that would be a new one for me. It's been very quiet lately. I wonder if he was banned for a while. Oh, I don't know who we're talking about. Oh, and do we have Gossamer Marin in the chat? Because Gossamer Marin, I think, was supposed to get some mod privileges that they didn't have. They didn't have any. Now they do. Finally. Yeah, mods, let me know if you don't have the privileges you're supposed to. I'm trying to get caught up on all of that. And I don't mind spending a little time doing that now, given that this show feels like it's been a wash. I feel like we got our debating done. I'd love to get another good call in for the day, but there was a time where I didn't reliably get callers at all on this show because I wasn't as established. So it's quite the privilege that I can expect to have callers all the time. The fact that I'm sitting here butthurt that I haven't had a call in 20 or 30 minutes or whatever it's been is a demonstration of the privilege I have from running the show well. Raven doesn't have guest management. We can fix that. Let's see. Raven ... manage access. Now you do. Fixed. Thank you for pointing that out to me. We are looking for more mods. So if you're a name in the chat that I think that I would trust, I'm not going to do it right now, but you can message me and we might add you to the mod team. Midwest also. Let's see. Did you not? I think I think early on I wasn't giving the mods guest management access because I didn't trust them, but that was ages ago. So Midwest has just been a mod so long he never got the privilege. Hello, Foxy Roxy. Good to see you. Family Jewess says, today's a good day. I am having a good day. So it's a lovely, beautiful day here in Minnesota. Maybe all the chuds are out fishing, which they should be on a beautiful day like this. Let's see. Does Milky Kate have the right privileges? ... Oh my God. I don't like the way TikTok manages guest access management for mods. I wish I had a pane just for clicking on the existing mods, but I don't know. Maybe it's in there and I just haven't found it. Tap the 30K. Yeah. We could still get a debate in. This could be the greatest episode ever of the Oskar Quentin debate show. We could have Cam Higbee or somebody show up and try to tell me that Trump isn't a pedophile or something like that. So it's not too late. It's not too late to save the show. No, I think it has been a good show. It just hasn't been a very oppositional show, which I guess low-key I'm excited about because I don't have as much time to edit today, so maybe I won't have as many clips to get through. But I will thank everybody again for supporting me elsewhere, not just financially. 52,000 followers on Instagram now. Huge. The reach on there is absolutely crazy. Let's see. The Chicago Ferret says, how do I call in? I think I can just click you and invite, can't I? Or are you in my invite pane? There should be a button down here, over here to the right of the comment section. It's a pink and a blue head. And if you click on that, that'll... Oh, there we go. It worked. We got him in. Hello, how old are you?
I'm sorry, I'm 34.
Hello, are you a Trump supporter?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm 34, and I don't know, I mean, if you kind of want to get somebody more oppositional, I totally get that. I definitely lean more blue. I feel really disenfranchised with the entire system, and I feel really disenfranchised with the left, and I'm just wondering if you have any, what are your thoughts on restructuring the Democratic Party to be more socialist?
Yeah, I'll take that call. Like I said, I'm kind of declaring an early friendly time today, but that's definitely an interesting enough topic. I agree that the Democratic Party, the mainstream Democratic Party, has really biffed it in a way that's super problematic. I've experienced some of that sensation of disenfranchisement, and I guess I just want to start by recognizing that I don't think it's unreasonable to feel that way. I do just think that at the end of the day, we've got this big thing to deal with before we start working on the Democratic Party, and that big thing to deal with is the fact that Trump isn't following the Constitution. We just need to team up, all of us, the independents, the socialists, the communists, the democratic socialists, whether we're talking about philosophical democratic socialists or the social democrats in American politics that call themselves democratic socialists, like myself and Bernie Sanders and AOC and people like that. We all just need to vote blue in the damn midterms so that we don't fall into tyranny. And then after that, we can deal with the fact that the Democratic Party has indeed failed us.
Yes, my bigger issue is just that, so first of all, I agree with you. I think that, Trump is a problem. I think that and there is the argument that people make of, well, I just can't decide which side to pick. Well, one side is very clearly causing major issues as far as, women's rights and things like that. But I feel like we never actually get further left because we're constantly in this lesser of two evils game, which it is very much the lesser of two evils. But the reality is we never actually move that goalpost and actually get further left because it's just this constant battle. I don't know.
Well, I think that we have an opportunity to let the pendulum swing in such a way that will address some of these issues. Because if we're successful in the midterms, if the midterms are free and fair, and there's the expected blue wave that gets Trump impeached, and all that happens, then we'll be staring down the barrel of a presidential election where it's not even, I don't think it's very clear to anybody who is expected to be the Democratic frontrunner in 2028. And that becomes the question. How do we create unity among people on the left to decide what we want to have happen in America in a way that is progressive enough for people like you and me to be happy with it, is not progressive, not so progressive that we scare away all the voters in the middle that we actually need to win a presidency. Like what that looks like is complicated. I have opinions about it. I have opinions about who I think should run. I'll say straightforwardly, I'll just announce it. My dream ticket is Kelly as the president and AOC as the vice president.
I would love AOC. AOC would be great. I don't know that we'll get AOC because she's so young and because there's still a lot of misogyny, unfortunately, on both sides. But
there's a reason I don't put her on the top of the ticket. I put her on the bottom of the ticket, and it's because I'm not going to go third time's the charm on a woman versus MAGA. Because there's an electability problem there, and I am very sorry to like feminists everywhere, myself included, that. We got bigger fish to fry than making a woman president right now, and it is very risky to hurt the electability of the president by selecting a woman, which is terrible to have to say. But at the end of the day, I'm a pragmatist. I care about what can actually happen in American politics, which is why I disagree with so many of the Philbros who call in and want to take over the system and or burn down the system and do something completely new. Like, we have to just pick a plan that could actually work. And I think that if we want somebody with more democratically social ideals to have like major leadership in this country, the path isn't going to be being the front runner in 2028, but it might be being the vice president in 2028. And AOC is a good pick, I think, for that purpose.
I think my bigger issue is just that when we get to that point, right? So let's say everything goes perfectly. We get, let's say we get someone on the left as president. That would be fantastic. It's about holding the line and making sure we hold them accountable to actually get that change made. Because I feel like, granted, COVID and everything that happened was kind of a cluster, but I just feel like we didn't actually hold. I don't know. I just feel like there was a lack of accountability for actually making that forward push to be more left. And I don't know. I look at us and I look at the rest of the world. I don't know. I've got an interesting perspective. I'm from Texas. My family is all MAGA. So I understand that, that's the goal, right? Is to get some of those really hateful people on the right to understand and see our perspective. But I don't know. I'm just stuck between the two.
I'm so glad you brought up that you're from Texas, because I was literally about to bring up James Tellerico. How do you feel about James Tellerico?
I actually don't know enough to say anything. I'm not educated enough, so I can't tell you.
For you in the audience, I'll just bring up that he is a Senate candidate in Texas who just won the nomination. So he's he got his nomination for the Democratic Party. So he'll be running for Senate in Texas in the fall. And he, in my opinion, has a good shot of being the spearhead of the movement that flips Texas blue, because he's a religious, seminary trained Christian, which I'm not religious. I'm an atheist, but I can team up with him on some good old Christian values like feeding people and education and rights and things like that. He's a good Christian as far as I'm concerned. But he's also refusing to accept PAC money, and he's really running on a very populist eat the rich platform. He's saying it's not the illegal immigrants. It's not anybody who's using these social programs who's fucking us over. It literally is the billionaires, and the billionaires are blaming the immigrants. The billionaires are blaming the people who use the social programs. He thinks that the social programs are the Christian thing to do, which I think is irrelevant because I'm an atheist. But he and I agree that the social programs are the thing to do if you want America to be successful, if you want our economy to be strong, if you want to have good jobs, if you want to have safety and security and all that stuff that we like, helping the people who are struggling the most is a really short path to do that in terms of spending some taxpayer money on it. So it's his sort of policy. Like, I ball him in with people like AOC and Mamdani and all these other younger people who are taking politics by storm, because enough people are fed up with the status quo. Enough people are fed up with the PAC money controlling our elections. Enough people are fed up with Americans electing Zionists who have the interests of a country that's run by somebody who most of the world considers to be a war criminal. Netanyahu will be arrested if he sets foot in something like 150 countries because he's literally a war criminal. So the fact that we have an issue with our politicians from both sides supporting that's the sort of thing that has people wanting to flip the table. And flip the table in American politics might look like flipping Texas blue. It might look like putting somebody like AOC on the presidential ticket, even if it's just as vice president instead of president, just for electability reasons. And Kelly, by the way, I'll just mention, the person who I hope is on the top of that ticket. He's a veteran, he's an astronaut, and he has not minced words about the fact that Trump has called for his execution for things that he said that was just him telling servicemen to uphold their oath and not obey any illegal orders that they receive, any unconstitutional orders that they receive. So I think there's a recipe there for people to say, like, hey, we can be a little bit revolutionary about fixing some of these big problems like immigrations and poverty and hunger in this country and wealth disparity and people's employment situation and how difficult it is to buy a home even if you're in the middle class. Like, these are all things people are madder and madder about every day. I think there's enough anger there that if we can just direct it into one thing, there's enough of us mad that we can do it. It's just the unity is so important. It makes me so sad that people who have like slightly more extreme leftist beliefs than me instead of liberal ones consider me the enemy, when all I'm trying to say is it's all of us versus the actual fascists. But if you think I'm a fascist for wanting to participate in the system, you're wasting your time, and I'm actually trying to make some change in the world.
No, and so I lived in Texas for most of my life. I actually, about 5 years ago, during COVID, had some I came out. It was a whole thing. I moved to Chicago, but Texas holds a really special place in my heart. And I mean, just based on what you've said, like, if that's truly his principles and how he feels, I would love Texas to be blue, but I also, at the same time, the gerrymandering in Texas is so bad. And, I would love it to be blue. I have a lot of family and friends there still that I care about. It's kind of one of those things of, we'll see it when it happens. I mean, I would love that, but I don't know. We'll see it when it happens, if it happens.
Well, I will actually, I guess the pushback I'll give on that is that I actually think it's fundamentally inevitable for Texas to turn blue over the next 10 or 20 years. We'd have to define what it means for Texas to flip blue. Is that Texas winning, or is that Texas being blue in the Electoral College in a presidential election? Would we call Texas blue if it had a blue governor and a blue senator and then one red senator? We can kind of operationally define that however we want. But I think the fact of the matter is that there's this issue where the more old-timey and fucked up the conservatives' beliefs are in the modern political stage as the zeitgeist adjusts, the easier it will be for Republicans who have voted red their entire life to be like, God damn it, all right, fine. The Democrats are clearly just trying to feed the kids. The Democrats are clearly just trying to make crime better. They're clearly just trying to actually address these problems I care about instead of getting stuck on all these issues of identity politics or whatever. And I think that James Tellerico is accelerating that inevitable process in a way that's noteworthy.
Well, and I would say that, there are a couple other things I'll say to that. When Uvalde happened, and then I think just the whole abortion push, I think those two things alone have really kind of pushed people to reconsider some things. So I'm not entirely against the idea that maybe someday Texas will be blue. I don't know. And the other part of it too is that, Texas is so big. It's the views. I went to school in South Texas. I'm from Dallas originally. The views in Dallas versus South Texas are vastly different. There's always going to be that rural urban divide to consider. Because obviously, if we're just to look at the Texas Triangle, it's a pretty blue metropolitan area.
or group of metropolitan areas, relatively speaking. But yeah, I mean, there's even still people in the chat lighting up and saying that Texas will never be blue. But when I talk about that pendulum swing, specifically what I'm talking about is that if we're to look at silver linings about what's happening in America right now, it might get directly to your concern about how do we actually get more progressive ideologies pushed than just what the mainstream Democrats have been, trying to hold on to through this period. And where it comes from is the fact that we have now seen what happens if the Republicans win. And it's fascism in America. It's old ladies getting tear gassed walking down the street in Minneapolis. In Texas, it's women dying on the emergency room floor because the doctors won't treat them because the treatment that she needs is an abortion.
How would you feel? I'm sorry. How do you feel though about the argument that, because like one of the arguments that I have heard that is just that I think there are certain people and certain groups of people that just have so much hatred and so much anger, and that anger and hatred, Trump is just the catalyst for that. And that if it wasn't Trump, it would be something else on the right, that they can just kind of, because if we look at historically, abortion wasn't as big of a deal as it is now in like the 60s and the 50s. Like it wasn't a hot button issue like it is now. It's just that what they've latched onto, and now it's immigration and trans issues. And anyway, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I talk a lot about the fact that like Trump is 80 and in poor health. So like I'm not actually all that stuck on him. I'm not really going to like celebrate too much when he eventually passes away, because it's not actually going to change what the current power structure in the country is. But the reason I focus on him at all is because I just want to address the crimes that he's committed so that the next Republican president can't commit those crimes. So I think it's important for us to tackle that. But you're right that the MAGA movement will live on without him. So I just have to approach the whole thing through that lens I was just talking about of like, look how bad things go quickly when MAGA Republicans are in charge. Look at these women dying on the emergency room floor. Look at these people being separated from their families. Look at these people getting their SNAP benefits defied. Look at how bad the jobs market is. Like I can just list all the things that they're doing that are awful, and it's a long, long list. And if we're going to look at those silver linings, we need to take that and say, hey, everybody, if you're mad about how this has gone and you don't want more of it, here's what the fuck we need to do, which is why with the platform that I have, which is bigger than a random person walking down the street, but it's not that big. I've got less than 100,000 followers. I urge people to get our shit together, pick a blue candidate, and stand behind them, even if they're not perfect, even if they're not exactly your flavor of radical or progressive, because they aren't going to be.
I think everybody. It's just, yeah, and I mean, I don't disagree with that. I think it's just, and maybe it's just by design, but I know a lot of people, especially, now I live in Chicago and it's it's Trump's favorite place to hate, apparently. But I see people here exhausted, and I see people here that have just really, and maybe it is by design, to kind of wear us down and exhaust us and get us to that point. But I don't know. I gotta take a work call anyway. I just wanted to hop on and talk to you for a minute, but yeah. So
no, I appreciate your perspective. Thanks for hopping up.
Yep. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye. Oh, how nice. It was interesting that she was from Texas. That was a fun perspective to get, given I literally was about to go the Tellerico route in the conversation. But we're going to talk to Vicky Murray 8, who I think is a friendly. I think I saw them in the chat earlier. But what do we got? We got 20 minutes left, so it's decidedly friendly time. Oh, no, they left. They ran. They must have clicked the button by accident. Well, I'll talk to the chat for a moment. No AI pack. Yeah. Oh, no, Vicky Murray 8's back. Let's see. Hello. How old are you?
I am 26.
26. You're friendly?
Yes.
Welcome to the show. What do you want to talk about?
I just wanted to... You can hear me well, right?
Oh, sorry. Are you a little bit far from your mic, or are you using a Bluetooth device? You're a little muffled.
Yep.
Yeah, teacup. So she's just going to go disconnect Bluetooth. Oh, there we go.
Okay, so it's better?
Much better.
Okay, fantastic. I just wanted to mention the Alberta stuff that I mentioned before.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't have a whole lot of time, but I wanted to do like a quick TLDR. So we have a separatist movement here, and we're having a referendum on whether or not to have a referendum to separate. Because people are mad. Because our leader of the UCP party she's owned essentially by this guy named David Parker, who is an extreme separatist himself. And he essentially got her into the position of premier. So now she owes the separatists. And she's trying to do what she can to not piss off both sides of the aisle, but it's not working, and everyone's just getting mad, and now we're essentially turning on our neighbors.
Okay. I mean, I guess straightforwardly, where do you stand on the separatist movement?
My husband's Métis and treaty rights, 100%. Like, the treaties were signed hundreds of years ago to keep this land for, like, the people on it. Or there's the separation stuff makes zero sense. There is also no plan for after the separation. There's no like plan for, what are we going to do for our banks, for our dollar, there is no after. Some people want to be annexed by the states. So what, we become another Puerto Rico and they can just take our oil and give us no votes?
Tax you without representation?
Exactly. I don't really feel like being taxed without representation.
Yeah, your position kind of aligns with what my gut reaction is, because I'm not educated enough about the politics in Canada to like really get down to the nitty gritty of whether or not I think that would be good for Alberta. But my gut reaction is to bring up something like Brexit and say I think that division is a regressive policy for if you're going to have a referendum. The more togetherness we have on Earth, the better we tend to do. And England is dealing with the fallout from Brexit because there's all this convenient stuff that people took for granted about them being part of the European Union that they don't have anymore. And I would worry that a lot of the people who want Alberta to secede from Canada probably would be left completely fucked over by the fact that their money's no good or they don't know how to ban, whatever, all that stuff you just brought up. That sounds like a way bigger problem than any sort of solution that's created by like ceding from Canada. And as you pointed out, becoming a part of the United States isn't the best path forward either. We don't actually treat our new territories very well.
Yeah. Funny thing about the Brexit thing, our Prime Minister went through Brexit. He was there during Brexit. He saw it. He saw how everything went to shit, especially financially, because he's a bank guy. That's his whole thing. So yeah, we would go the exact same route as that, and then just be entirely. I don't even know what to say. It's ridiculous. And honestly, the States doesn't need more stuff. The States can't even figure out their own stuff. Don't try to add another 5 million people in.
Well, and I can say about a separatist movement a lot of what I've said today already about more radical approaches to democracy in America, or more radical approaches to progressive values in America, which is that I think that the people who want to burn the system down and like start something new take the system for granted. Like, it's still mostly working. Like, life
it's all old white people. Like,
it is all old white people.
Rallies.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, I think
at our separatist rallies, it's all old white people.
Oh, you mean up there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that I can't say that demographic of like the people here who are like socialists or communists or anarchists and like really want to upset the way that politics works in America. I do just think that these are people who would be really bummed if the grocery store didn't have the stuff they want, or would be really bummed if they couldn't get their prescriptions filled, or whatever other terrible thing. If the school if the school closed, that would be a problem, both for education and now for childcare. Like, these are things that the system actually does relative to history. The system is working way better than it used to.
Absolutely.
We do have free education, which as a bonus comes with that is free childcare. We do have like reasonable protections to make sure that the food you eat isn't going to cause you to die some painful death because you've been poisoned. Like, there's all this beneficial stuff about society. And if you want to completely burn the system down and start over, which is something like seceding in the case of Alberta, you're taking all that for granted, and you need to have a damn good plan in place to catch yourself when you're no longer being supported by the social safety nets of the system you so despise. That's my problem with almost everybody who has an extreme political belief. All the libertarians, all the socialists, all the communists, everybody who wants to do something other than vote blue or red. I just say, like, good fucking luck with that, both in one, accomplishing it, and then two, being able to survive once you've thrown away the system that's taken care of you your entire life.
Oh yeah, our premier actually calls herself a libertarian, so that's embarrassing, to say the least. The thing is with the treaty stuff and the land and all that, and if the separatists did get what they wanted, the only land that we have in Alberta that's not treaty land is a small section on the southwest near BC and a tiny, essentially satellite colony in the northeast of Alberta, and that's all they get. There's no, like, how are you supposed to get your oil out to a foreign country now? We're surrounded. We're landlocked. We've got, there's nothing.
Alberta doesn't have the geographic advantage that it has as part of Canada.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No. And BC doesn't want to even negotiate. It's not that they don't want to negotiate, but they definitely wouldn't negotiate if we seceded. And negotiations are tough now because our premier is just the way she is.
I mean, you pointed it out already, but if you guys secede from Canada, you're going to be surrounded by enemies immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm not going to pretend that we have a good chance of being friendly with you down here. We can hardly keep our own shit under control.
Oh no, and obviously not all Americans, but I see some Americans occasionally in comments being like, "Oh yeah, no, we'll take them. We'll just grab them. We'll just take them real quick. It's easy." And I mean, honestly, yeah, it would be easy because we don't really have too many guns up here. And honestly, I mean, we'll fight, but 5 million of us? No way. It's not going to happen.
Is it it almost seems to me like it's so obviously bad. I mean, is there a big, what's the polling data? What percentage of Albertans want to secede?
Oh gosh, the polling data. I think it's maybe it's not even 25%. It's incredibly low. We had two different petitions here which kicked off, which our premier used to kick off the referendum. One was the Forever Canadian petition, which got over 400,000 verified signatures. And then the second one is the petition for separation. That one got over 300,000 signatures, but they're not verified. And Centurion, which is a company that holds all of our electoral data, it got leaked. So over 3 million voters in our province, their data got leaked.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm looking here and I'm seeing the highest numbers I'm seeing is 35%, which is a lot. That is a huge secession movement. And I recognize that part of the process for these sorts of things, like you're going to do a referendum on having a referendum because it's unfair to a secession movement to not advertise it properly. So you have to, you petition to get it, to get it in the voting booth and then see what people want. And there's this process of developing steam. But yeah, it does seem to me like it would be a massive blunder. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Hello, Kate, and hello, Raven, who's been sitting here quietly for a little while.
Hello.
Hello.
I just separatist movement.
Oh, sorry.
Just gonna stay muted till we move on.
Yeah, I think I've said my piece. I don't really. I'm not educated enough on the politics in Canada to weigh further than I already have.
Oh no, don't worry. I really just wanted to mention, just to come up here and mention that, American politics really does matter on the world stage because it trickles everywhere. It flows through like a river, and we got lots of rivers through us. So.
Shout out to all my international viewers. I have been surprised how many international viewers have started to turn to me to, keep their finger on the pulse of American politics because it does matter. We're important on the world stage, and I would like to have America run by somebody who recognizes the responsibility that we have to the world to not be a bunch of fucking jackasses because so many other people's suffering does depend on us. But that's the cool way to be the leader of the free world, is to care about everybody. But that's not super popular in American politics right now.
No, apparently not. Love thy neighbor kind of got thrown out the window, but...
Yeah, well, they're only Christians when it's convenient for them, right?
That's the worst part. I really don't like hearing the whole Christian thing, because especially as an atheist, I find, why am I finding myself on the side of the Pope? I should not be finding myself on the side of the Pope.
That has been such a trip for me for so long. I was not on Team Pope forever, and now I'm technically on Team Pope because the president is feuding with the Pope. Huh.
why is the president feuding with the Pope? And then just to say you're Christian, come on, man. Like, what? Yeah.
I honestly think that the reason that the president is feuding with the Pope, like genuinely, I think the reason is because the Pope and like the Vatican City and like the Catholic Church in general has a really similar approach to like opulence that Trump has. They wear a lot of fancy clothes. They have lots of gold ornamentation. I genuinely think he just doesn't like that the guy like upstages him in terms of that stuff.
He just wants to wear a bigger hat.
He literally, yeah, he wants to wear a bigger hat than the Pope. Pope wears such a big hat. Fuck that guy. Like that's I don't think it goes deeper than that for Trump, because I don't think that any of Trump's advisors are advising him to feud with the Pope. I don't think it's calculated. No. I think it's just literally him being a buffoon on Truth Social.
Oh no, I don't think Stephen Miller's in the fucking corner being like, yeah, go after the Pope. That's a great idea. Upset the Christians. No, like
the competent fascists in Trump's administration are working really hard to slow the rate at which they're losing their following, and feuding with the Pope is accelerating that, because he's lost lots of supporters over his feud with the Pope.
Well, it's really nice to see that some Christians are waking up to the idea that like he's just not. He's not a Christian. He is if anything like sorry swearing. If anything like the Antichrist. Oh, okay, cool. But yeah, like he essentially the Antichrist, like that. If you look, I mean, that's like trying to say that you're God or you're like the next best thing, and then doing all false the terrible things. Yeah, exactly. It's just false idols. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it gives me plenty of fodder when I have guests come up who allege to be Christian or allege to hold Christian values, and I get to ask them like, "Oh, what would Jesus have thought about this very specific thing that Trump did last week?" Or whatever particular thing it is. The one I like, the example I like using is that Trump defied a court order to pay out SNAP benefits, feeding poor people. Bible's pretty clear on feeding poor people. At least the New Testament is, if you believe in that stuff. Because I think the answer to the question, what would Jesus do, is almost never what Trump actually did do.
Oh yeah, whatever Trump does, like just do the opposite. That's what Jesus would want you to do. The Bible even says like treat the foreigner as you would treat your own native born.
Yeah, feeding the poor and immigration. Those are the two very anti-Christian things that the whole MAGA movement's based around. I love pulling that shit up.
Like I just like asking folks, what if Jesus was here? What if Jesus came to America? What would you do? What if he was an illegal immigrant? Would you kick him out? And hearing them say sometimes yes is like the most baffling, insane, what the hell?
Well, yeah, and in addition to the fact that Jesus would get deported pretty promptly, I have just loved the gags around it. There's a guy who often comes to the Whipple Federal Building that ICE operates out of here, and he dresses as Jesus, and he robe and beard, like the obviously westernized like depiction of Jesus. But he has a sign that says, "I saw that." And he holds it up. He holds it up when the fascists are tear gassing us.
Oh my God!
Oh
man!
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he's dressed like Jesus is upsetting to the Christians in the first place. But like the gag is funny. I mean, it's like really have a conversation with a priest about the things that Trump is doing. If priest is a Trump supporter, get a new priest.
Oh God, yeah.
But
absolutely,
I'm not religious either. I'm also an atheist, so to me it's all irrelevant. But I do just appreciate that there's people like James Tellerico, who is too good a person to believe in the nasty components of Christianity. That's really what I think is going on. I think that somebody like James Tellerico is so good-natured an individual that of course he's going to read the Christian Bible through a lens that results in him doing good things. I don't think he got any of that goodness from the Bible.
That's just within him. No.
Maybe someday after the big blue wave, I'll be able to have a debate with James Tellerico about his religious beliefs, and it can all be friendly, and we won't have to really be worrying about people having their civil rights taken away or anything like that.
Honestly, I hope that he does well. Like anytime I see anything come like from him, it's just that is just what Jesus would do. It is just like fully wholesome, pure Christianity, love your neighbor type stuff. And that's what it should be. The Bible shouldn't be used to preach hate, fucking Levitical law. It's like, dude, yeah, it says to beat your kids in there. It also says to stone people. Like,
rules for buying and selling slaves are like,
exactly.
I love bringing up the rules for buying and selling slaves because people will often respond to that by saying, well, that part of the Bible is like antiquated and doesn't apply anymore. And I'm like, right, it's one page over from the 10 Commandments. Same book. Like, so no, like, Are we throwing it all out, or it is interesting watching Christians try to do the mental gymnastics of how they accept which parts of the Bible, because there's lots of different arguments around. There's lots of different approaches to that. But at the end of the day, I do just think that if you are a good person who's a Christian, it's because you are a good person and you're capable of looking at the Bible and saying that's bad. Not gonna buy or sell any slaves. But there's no consistent read the text and come to these conclusions logical way to like get morals from the Bible. I don't understand it at all, how people think there is.
No, I find a lot of it's up to, like, certain things are very, like, specific, don't do this and that, but a lot of things can be taken into weird interpretation, like with the whole Greek word that, like, Paul made up about, like, boy or whatever, like, don't lay with boy or something like that. Like, it's just, the interpretation of it is absolutely ridiculous.
Oh yeah, there's that thing about how man's not supposed to lie with another man. If you look at the actual like pre-translated texts and what those words actually meant, that might have actually just been a response to a pedophilia issue in like ancient Greece. Yeah.
The context was a man laying with boy without consent, and Paul made up a word. I think it starts with like A or something like that, and that was the word to describe it. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Let's not try to convince the Republicans that the Bible's anti-pedophilia, because they'll really struggle with that conundrum.
No, they can't. They read it on a surface level. They don't look too far into it. It's media literacy, comprehension down the drain, honestly. I don't know if you've seen The Boys, but...
I haven't. I know I need to watch The Boys. I almost feel like I don't need to watch The Boys, because I watch American Politics. Apparently they're the same show.
It is the same. It's the same thing. It's a parody. Absolutely.
Hello, Mako. I think the mods added you. Are you a friendly?
I am definitely probably not a friendly. I'm not against you. I don't follow the same path as the Democrat Party.
I hear you. I am just going to kick you even before I ask your age, just because there's 3 minutes left in the show, and I do have to stop sharp at 12 today. Just because I've got.
I figured I'd get out.
Yeah. I'm gonna say goodbye to you as well. Thanks for hopping up, and I'm always happy to give some airtime at the end of the show to a little bit more international politics.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, and thank you to all your viewers and all that for listening.
Yeah. W's in the chat for Vicky. How you doing, Raven?
Good. How are you?
I'm well rested today. I'm not usually well rested. I'm much better rested these days. My schedule is getting manageable. I do have a gig tomorrow. Are you coming to the boardwalk tomorrow? 7:30 p.m. I will be performing some music.
Send me the info.
Yeah. I'll put a flyer on my Instagram. It's always tricky deciding how I want to promote.
You can't trust me to go to your Instagram, Oscar. You're gonna have to text me.
I will text you the flyer. I just mean, in general, it is a little dangerous for me to promote my music stuff on my social media these days.
Totally. So we'll talk.
Yeah.
But I actually came up here to hopefully be a little bit of a oppositional friendly, but you only got 2 minutes left.
Well,
I was going to push back a little bit on the vote blue no matter who.
Okay, I would love to have that friendly debate. I could reserve some friendly time for that another day this week.
Okay, sounds good.
I will just say now quickly, with the couple of minutes we have left, I obviously don't mean that literally. Like, obviously there's blue candidates I wouldn't support. I just mean, I think we'll get into it.
Yeah,
we'll give you fair time to talk about that. All right, but I'll let you go, and I'll give myself the commercial. Thanks for hopping up.
Yep, have a good one.
See ya. The chat is asking for clarification. 7:30 p.m. tomorrow in Shakopee. I will be performing some music prior to a comedy show that I do. I just like play intro and outro guitar for the comedians. So I will be doing a few songs at the beginning of the show. If you want to come see me perform live, because I am a musician. Like, even though people say I'm not, because I'm doing politics now, I'm a folk musician. It all goes very, very well together. So a flyer will be out on my Instagram for that. And I'll just say, if you want to follow me on the other platforms, that may be a good way to keep up with the music if you're interested in that. And it is a free way to support me. And if you want to support me in a way that maybe isn't free, there are ways to do that in the link tree in the bio as well. And thanks to the donors, because I get to do this full time. I get to do this show every single day and prioritize it in the way that I do. And that's very, 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 very exciting for me. So thanks, everybody. Really, I'm kind of living the dream right now. Even if it's like a really crazy, disturbing, taxing, exhausting dream, it is pretty cool that I get to participate in this thing in the way that I am, because I really do care about that. Anyway, I'll see you guys tomorrow, 10 o'clock Central Standard Time, 10 to 12 in the morning here on TikTok Live. See you there. YouTube soon also.